welcome to the MudRoom, our weekly free uncommon sense parenting class. How is everyone doing? It has been an interesting couple of weeks around here. Spring has finally sprung, which I am so happy about. It's fantastic. I love being able to leave the house without feeling like I need to bundle up. Unfortunately, it has brought with it the nastiest stomach bug I have ever encountered. And of course, it tore through our house like a tornado. Everybody got it, even my husband, and he never ever gets sick. Like, it took us out. So that's why I missed last week. While I should have been here with y'all, I was hugging the throne. It also kind of put a pin in our Easter plans. We decided to stay home and not spread our germs, and it was a good decision. We got to kind of hang out, and it gave my husband a chance to catch up on some household tasks before he deploys, and it allowed us all to get our guts right. I hope that your Easter or Passover or Ramadan was much more fun and that you got to celebrate with all of your family and friends. And if you live in an area that has gastro going around, you might want to consider bleaching all the things because you really don't want this. It is vicious. All right, let me introduce myself for those of you who are new around here. Great first impression talking about stomach bugs. My name is Allana Robinson. I'm a parenting coach for parents of toddlers, preschoolers, and kindergartners, and I help you understand why your kids are misbehaving and how to fix it without yelling at shaming or timeouts. I'm your host here on the MudRoom. I'm also the host of the Parenting Posse Facebook group, and I'm the creator of the ParentAbility program, where I help you raise well-behaved kids of your own. So if you're watching, say hi in the comments. Let me know what questions come up as we go along. I will make sure to answer them for you. And while you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you never miss another class. All right, so there was a post in the Posse recently that made me think of a quote. Now, I can't remember who said it, and I've been putting off doing this specific MudRoom because I keep hoping that either my brain or Google is going to turn it up. But I think that enough people have said something similar that it can't really be attributed to any one person. So we're going to talk about it. First, let me tell you about this post. Mom was asking for help with her 4-year-old who had suddenly become what she described as unintentionally aggressive. He was pushing peers. He was getting in their personal space, throwing things both at people and just in general, running at things and kind of crashing into them. But he didn't seem upset or mad even. In fact, he seemed to find it really funny. But when mom or dad tried to explain why this wasn't acceptable behavior, he would stop for a while, only for it to start up in a slightly different way. So instead of crashing into a door, he'd crash into a couch. Mom was frustrated because, while he seemed to understand when they explained the boundary, they'd also sent him to his room and taken away all of his screen time after every incident, but nothing was changing. And the quote or line that I've heard before was, "You cannot punish the needs," and in some versions, the disability, out of a child. If you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. Telling children what not to do is not the same thing as telling them what to do. Children are going to attempt to meet their goal by any means possible. They don't care if you don't like how they're achieving it. No amount of telling a child not to do something or punishing them or shaming them for doing something is going to stop them from doing it if it's meeting their needs, whether those needs are due to a disability or not. And this is why I like to approach parenting from a developmental perspective. What do we know about 4-year-olds? Well, first of all, we know that they're in the limbic leap, right? They're in a stage where their security system is going absolutely bonkers with development, and that results in them seeing anything new or unexpected as mortal danger, which means they're dysregulated a lot more than other children. We have 2 episodes on the limbic leap, one general one and one about how the pandemic specifically has impacted the limbic leap, if you want to dig into that more. We also know that 4-year-olds are generally straddling the line between associative and cooperative play. They're moving towards playing with other kids, not just around them. So they're just learning to play in that back and forth sharing of resources fashion. But they are still very egocentric. They see themselves as the center of the universe, and they do not give a flying fuck about your priorities or concerns. And that's not a character flaw. It's not because they're an asshole, it's just their developmental stage. They are not yet able to perspective take in a way that allows them to put themselves in other people's shoes. So they don't understand yet how their actions are going to be perceived by others. So it stands to reason that a 4-year-old who is pushing, having difficulty with personal space, throwing lots of stuff, and crashing into people, squeezing people way too hard, that they're trying to regulate and initiate play this way. They're trying to get someone to co-regulate with them in the best way that they know how, right? Because throwing, pushing, crashing, squeezing, all of that is sensory input. That's what's called specifically proprioceptive heavy work. It's input created by the contraction of muscles and joints. And that heavy work is generally very regulating for children. It's input that helps them determine where their body is in space, which allows them to feel safe so their nervous system can chill out. And because they're primarily doing it to other kids their age, it makes sense that they're using a maladaptive play invitation to try and engage other children in receiving that input, in playing with them to co-regulate. By knowing what's going on with your child developmentally, you're able to suss out the actual problem behind the behavior a lot easier and then solve that problem. Punishments don't make the problem go away, right? They just shame children for having a problem that they don't know how to solve and that they tried their hardest to solve with the resources that they had at their disposal. Kids do well if they can. So no amount of punishment or shame is going to resolve a problem that's the result of a need. So if this family were in ParentAbility, here's what I would suggest to them. First, find more opportunities for acceptable proprioceptive heavy work. What can he throw and where? What can he squeeze and how can he access that? What can he crash into and when? How can we facilitate his sensory needs instead of shaming him for having them? Because they aren't going away. And if we continue to shame him for having sensory needs, he's just going to get sneakier and sneakier about how he fulfills those. And that generally results in kids doing some really dangerous stuff. So it's much more productive to facilitate those needs in a safe way. And 2, how can he involve his peers in those needs without hurting them or making them uncomfortable? So this is where we need to teach consent. Can his friends play catch with him? How can we teach him to ask them to play catch? Do his friends want to crash with him? If so, we need to teach turn taking and waiting so that it's safe and everyone gets a chance without getting hurt. Can we teach him to ask to hug his peers and what to do if they say no? There's a whole list of problems this child has presented us with that have some really simple solutions. He's just 4 and he doesn't know what to do in those instances, so we have to show him. And then the 3rd step is monitoring the situation and seeing what holes still need to be plugged. We've taught him how to ask before involving a friend in co-regulation. We've taught him acceptable ways to involve his peers in co-regulation that meet his needs. We've provided opportunities for him to act on those lessons. What did we miss? And we're going to figure that out by observing them. Generally, these show up in unexpected reactions from other kids. So like they have a friend that they've asked to play catch and the friend says no. Uh-oh. We didn't teach him what to do in that situation, which means we need to step in and show him. If you really need to throw right now, you can ask someone else, you can throw the ball somewhere that it won't hit anyone, or you can choose another game, right? There's always going to be tweaks and troubleshooting that needs to happen because we're not omniscient. We can't anticipate every eventuality, and trying to is going to drive us batty. So I always take the approach of this is the initial strategy, and then we're going to see where the gaps are and fill them as needed. And that's why we structure ParentAbility the way we do, so that we can provide that ongoing support for tweaking and troubleshooting. Because that's parenting. You will be tweaking and troubleshooting until they're grown. Probably even long after that. There's always a new problem to solve, and old problems often come back as they enter new stages of development, and they require new solutions. Punishments, on the other hand, don't solve problems. All they do is try to hide the problem behind shame. And unsolved problems generally escalate into bigger problems. It's like if you notice a growth on your arm and you're like, I'll just cover it up and pretend that it's not there because I'm ashamed of it. Well, that doesn't resolve it. And chances are it'll grow and become a bigger issue that's going to take far more effort to fix, right? So I hope that this gives you an understanding of what I mean when I say we need to solve the problem, not the behavior. If you're struggling to figure out what the problem you're trying to solve is, I invite you to go and post about it in the Parenting Posse. We have over 10,000 parents in there to help you figure it out. And if you want more hand-holding and for me to personally guide you through the process of figuring out what your child finds regulating, what skills they're lacking, and how to teach them those things, that's when I encourage you to come and join us in ParentAbility, and the link for both are in the description. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope that this gave you a new understanding of how we look at behavior when it comes to uncommon sense parenting. I know that it can seem very confusing, and I'm positive that one of the questions that's going to come out of this is, well, how do you know that he's looking for that kind of input? And the answer is experience. I've been doing this for 15 years, and so now I know what to look for. And that's why I teach parents what to look for. So I hope that that's given you a new idea of what you can look for, and I'll see you next week for another Uncommon Sense Parenting class. Bye!